So, if you skip this intro, this video is going to sound like a big ol' hate piece on SMITE 2 when really it isn't. I think SMITE 2 is fine. It's a good game, and honestly, if you're a new player, a ton of issues I have with the game are just not going to be relevant to you. Which I mean as a good thing. We want new players, right? And most of the issues I have with the game won't even be relevant to them. Although, I do have enough issues with it that have kept me from wanting to invest a ton of time into it, both in terms of playing it and making videos on it. The gameplay you see here is actually the first 2 games I've had in about 2.5 months, so it's rough, just don't pay attention to the gameplay. Also, there have been some health things IRL that I've been dealing with, and that's honestly the bigger reason for no videos, but that will be at the end of the video. For now, what are some issues I have with SMITE 2? The majority of content is just rehashed, even down to the stats and effects. I mean, why not try out some item plus ones? Not just swapping them over to an active. A big sticker for me here is not only things like power and whatnot, and protections, but also things like cooldown rate, which is a whole new system, but the number of cooldown rate on the items, when you do the math, is almost exactly how much cooldown reduction they had in SMITE 1. And on that note, the distinct lack of new items other than the ones the game shipped with. This was made worse if you played SMITE 1's Season 11, and SMITE 2 back to back. SMITE Season 11 was all about reintroducing mechanics and especially items, so we're just doing it all over again for another season, only in SMITE 2 this time. It gets a little exhausting. Hey guys, we're bringing back Ansile! Again, I guess. It's just a lot less exciting than seeing a brand new item. And also, I think the God Plus ones are either totally uninteresting or compound prevalent issues in their God design that was pre-existing, things like too much CC or mobility. I mean, there's definitely some fun ones, but you think about like the Jingwei plus ones, I mean, that just made her such a problem character. And Rom's plus one, in quotes. And on that note, we are already seeing the exact same balancing issues that we had in SMITE 1. Meta swings to where tanks are unkillable, yet can still kill you, or tanks are useless and just get shredded before they get anything done. You might say though, well, if we have the same gods and items, of course it'll suffer the same issues, which is my point exactly. So while SMITE 2 is fun to play because it is SMITE, I like SMITE, it's just the same game but with far less content, if they keep going down this route. And for the most part, it's not only difficult to get excited for new items in quotes, or new gods in quotes, since 9 out of 10 times it's something either directly from SMITE 1 or with a minor change or addition anyway. Again, especially when it comes to raw stats. It almost feels like faux content additions just to pad out things until actual new stuff comes out. The worst part is, from the ground up, a lot of things are lifted straight from League of Legends. Speaking in broad strokes, the item shop system, multiple new item mechanics being ripped straight from League, Minotaurs being direct copies of cannons from League, the literal designs of gods like Princess Bari, who is very similar to Syndra and Kindred, also Aladdin, who is a direct mix of Talon and Mordekaiser, the bush mechanics, the design around the Gold Fury evolutions being just like dragons, the Naga being the old Rift Herald, and so on. This is probably not an issue for most SMITE players, but for me personally, it's been extremely obvious when SMITE 2 is just straight up ripping off League of Legends, and it gets tiresome. But I am interested to hear of any other League of Legends players that are annoyed by this like I am. It's understandable given League's insane success, right? But it still gets exhausting. But I guess that's on me, right, having played League of Legends on and off for, 8 years? Guys, I just realized 2017 was 8 years ago. So this is probably a way bigger problem for me than anybody else. But the culmination, in my view, of everything wrong with SMITE 2's design thus far is in the wind sprites. Not only are they a direct ripoff of League of Legends blast cones, even down to the indicator showing you where you land, but their design in SMITE 2 directly counters the recent design decision around Combat Blink. They decided that a good balance for Combat Blink is making it so that Combat Blink requires a certain duration out of combat with gods specifically to be activated, so you can take many ways to engage or gank, but not escape for free with Blink if you get jumped on. Which, me personally, I think was a good call, since we only have one relic, making a true Combat Blink the absolute best relic. What we have now is a good middle ground. But yeah, no, let's just put these little fellas all around the map that are a literally better Combat Blink because it may be ripped straight from League, but it's new to SMITE at least, right? Smiley face? Except it works in League because A, the characters just plain walk slower, B, there are far less dashes and leaps in League of Legends to get to them, and C, the biggest reason, since League is a top-down, you need to walk over the plant to use it to get away, making it much more telegraphed and slower to use than Smite's implementation. And this is the most hater part of the video, so plug your ears if need be, but I feel like Hi-Rez know this mechanic is bad in its current state and needs to be expanded upon, or heavily changed, and they're just waiting for the community to speak up, and they'll just choose whatever they feel the general consensus is. Well, at least they listen to the community, right? You might say, but if they keep implementing radical changes that large groups of the player base won't like, of course they're going to change it and then pat themselves on the back for listening to the community in quotes. I only say this because I know Hi-Rez's devs and designers aren't dumb. So if they're not dumb, why would they implement or re-implement items and mechanics time and time again that will clearly be divisive? Another example, of course, being when CC buffering was added and how it interacted with leaps at first. So in short, it's a bad look for SMITE 2. For one, seeing them constantly backtrack and redo design decisions, and also just the fact that it's not fun to be a test dummy, at least that's how it makes me feel. Just progression and then regression, back and forth like that. And now that I've verbalized that, maybe the current plan is to keep inchworming until they reach a final product they like, and then start making more novel designs from there. But regardless, that doesn't make experiencing SMITE 2's rollout thus far more fun. And that's my main takeaway from SMITE 2. I just feel like a test dummy for tests that were already ran on me 5, maybe even 10 years ago. I mean, I can go deeper and give you guys a genuinely 30 to 40 minute video breaking down further why I really dislike how SMITE 2's been ran so far, from alpha till now, but I wanted to keep everything in this video about recent events and the current state of the game. Even if there's support for such a video, I don't know if I'll make a video like that. I don't want to root for people losing their jobs and stuff like that, so I think that's where I'll leave it. And besides, I wanted to keep what I said relevant to the current state of the game, so there you go. So as far as the channel, will there be more guides? Almost certainly. Although, since I don't rely on these videos for money, if I don't have the drive to make them, I won't make them. However, when I was doing them consistently, I would make around $150 to $200 every month, and that is pretty nice, so that's an incentive. Guides are just difficult to justify currently though, since so many SMITE players are just veterans, with very little new players. But new players do exist, and consistent SMITE players who play casually and don't know all the gods and all their crazy interactions could still get something out of the content, so there are reasons to continue. Plus, shorts are a great option to explain god aspects, as well as many new small mechanics, such as the wind sprites, as much as I hate them. So I'll probably start investing time into them as well. I also had requests in the past for things like explaining individual items and whatnot, and shorts would be a great option for that. So I'm almost certainly going to start looking into them. But what real life stuff happened? As for me, this year has been interesting to say the least. We're only on month number April and we're going through it. So, 4 days after my Hercules guide goes up though, I'm waking up one day and then BAM! There's an invisible man in my room stabbing me in the lower gut. Last week's Taco Bell was ready to strike back like an LSD relapse. Nah, I'm just kidding. It was my appendix telling me it was ready to burst. So, into the hospital I go. Even in the hospital, I was still working on my Mordred and Bologna guides, half feeling like, I'm gonna do these, right? I'm gonna get out of here tomorrow, so I should be able to work on them right away. Right? Smiley face? Then I wake up from the surgery and, good God. Getting your appendix out may not be the most extreme surgery, but you can't sit up straight, you cannot laugh, you cannot sneeze, you cannot cough, you cannot get out of bed without a sharp pain and feeling like you're going to tear open from the middle. So streaming and especially recording where I need to sit up straight and really use my diaphragm were totally out. To be clear, the recovery was really like 4 weeks. It's technically 6 weeks, but I stopped feeling that crazy pain after 4 weeks. In the grand scheme, it's not a big deal, and I was already working from home just a few days after the surgery, so it really wasn't the end of the world. But since I didn't need to work on the channel, I didn't, because, ow. Even just leaning forward to type hurt. And I won't harp on it too much at this point, but everything I said earlier started stewing in the old noggin. SMITE 2 is still SMITE, I like SMITE, but it's just not really something to be passionate about at this time. Mostly this comes down to the lack of progression in its overall development that I mentioned earlier. I mean, it's progressing in quotes, but 90% of the new stuff is just rehashed gods or items. If SMITE 2 makes it to this trying time, there's still tons of potential to get the ball rolling again. So surely that's enough motivation to at least try and make some videos, right? So stirring with that thought in my mind, and as soon as I was able, I started going on hikes again, something I enjoy doing. And my back gave out. I frankly didn't look after myself and destroyed my lower back in early March this year. If you're curious, and you do get your appendix out ever, you cannot do any ab exercises, and using your core at all is a big no-no for the first 6 weeks since you're at a high risk to get a hernia or two. So I put all of the stress on my back and couldn't even walk straight by the end of the hike. I could barely walk the next day, and just sitting in a chair was met with constant pain. So again, I had to stave off of leaning forward while gaming, sitting up straight to record voice lines, and so on. So in terms of why nothing has been made on the channel, this is why. It's mostly the physical impairments, plus spending the time that I can work on actual work. So in short, this channel is still SMITE pilled, obviously. I can do what I want with the channel, obviously, it's a free country, but anything other than SMITE won't get a lot of views since the algorithm will bury it. I like SMITE's gameplay enough to continue making content for it anyways. So chances are I probably will make SMITE content for the time being. Expect some new SMITE stuff, and to be clear, I will not be dooming in them like in this video. They'll be in the style you're used to. If you're curious about live streams, maybe more in the future. Probably not SMITE streams though, and they'll likely only be on Twitch from now on since it won't be SMITE related. I did notice sometimes on my YouTube streams whenever I was doing something variety, they'd be like, what is this? Where are we? So that's all I have for you for now. Hopefully I don't choke on my own tongue or something in the meantime, and thank you for watching.